Good afternoon, Seattle. Welcome back to Season 5 of Le Frères Heureux. We are, as ever, the Happy Brothers, Frasier
and Ewan.
Indeed. We are your hosts for this wonderful recap of Frasier, and we're just delighted to bring you yet another season. They're not really seasons. We're just kind of going along with seasons as we watch them.
Yeah.
4 episodes doesn't really count for much of a season, but it's easier to block it out, and it makes it easier for you guys to keep track of what episodes to watch and listen to.
Aren't we nice?
Aren't we kind?
You're very helpful to our listeners.
We had a little treat for you last week. We were very proud of how that turned out.
I'm really glad it turned out so well.
It was, really enjoyed myself making that.
And I'm really glad that so many people seem to have enjoyed it.
I think, people seem to be pretty receptive to it, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? I don't know what else we could do in a similar vein.
There's probably not an awful lot.
It's quite unique.
Yeah.
But, oh well. We had quite an interesting Frasier-esque event over the weekend.
Yes, we did.
Thought I'd start off talking about that.
Yeah.
We were both attending a wedding of a friend of ours, and I was a day guest, so I had been there for most of the afternoon, and you were an evening guest.
Yeah,
so you turned up.
Showed up around 7:00,
and wouldn't you know it, we both turned up wearing the same suit,
unbeknownst to each other.
Entirely unintentional. Everyone else noticed it.
Yep.
As soon as we did.
Mm-hmm.
That led to much hilarity.
Some people noticed without us even needing to be side by side.
Yep. And we're like, oh hey, you're not wearing the same suit as your brother. He's over there. He's wearing the same suit as you. Is that not the same suit? And I'm like, yes, it's the same suit. I know.
We get it.
But I think I was saying this in the car ride home that there were so many layers to it being as funny as it was.
Yeah.
The fact that it was that we were brothers, that it was the two of us, the fact we had no idea what each other was wearing, the fact that it ties into an episode of Frasier, one that we just watched as well a few weeks ago, and the fact that we have this sort of relationship with Frasier now through the podcast, they all added up into this delicious cake of embarrassment.
I didn't think it was embarrassing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
We both looked good. We were both looking very, very sharp.
Very dapper.
Yes.
But it was very funny.
It was funny.
And the fact that the first thing you said was, dear God, it's finally happened. It's just... That was the cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
Cherry on the cake. Right. Season 5. Enough of our anecdotes. Season 5 kicks off right where Season 4 left off. So if you have forgotten, since you watched the finale, Frasier is off on a plane with a mysterious woman to Cancun. He is following her to Cancun, which is a little bit...
it's very under false pretenses. Well, it starts off as false pretenses, and then he does confess to her as soon as they're on the plane. He confesses immediately. It's the first of, I think, every season finale from now on. I think that is a cliffhanger, basically, or that ends and then immediately starts where it left off. But episode 1 of season 5, Frasier's imaginary friend, as we've said, starts off on the plane to Cancun with, can't remember her name, the lady that he followed. Joanna.
And he immediately confesses to having followed her onto the plane.
Yeah.
But, what's your plans in Cancun? Why are you flying to Cancun? He's like, oh, well, I was following you. And she rightfully turns around and says, that's the creepiest thing I've ever heard. Yep. Please leave me alone.
I am moving to another seat.
And runs off to another seat. And then Frasier just clearly still pretty hard up trying to find a date or something. I don't know, starts flirting with the other passengers. He eventually settles
in a seat at the front by himself, but is quickly joined by Kelly Easterbrook, played by the lovely Celia Ward.
Yeah. I love Celia Ward.
I like Celia Ward as well.
She's so good.
Yeah. She's got a very, like, powerful lady vibe behind her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, she looks like she wears suits because she enjoys it. Yeah. She enjoys the power that it exudes.
I definitely respect that.
You see what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Nice lady.
Yeah.
And very attractive as well.
Yes.
And in this, she is playing a model, so that is, I guess, pertinent to.
Yeah. Well, she was a model as well. I think before she started acting.
Would not surprise me.
Or early in her career, I think, or actually maybe throughout her career. I don't actually know. Yeah. I think she was model as well.
Yeah. In this, at least, she is playing a model as well, and the two of them hit it off, Frasier and Kelly. They have their vacation together. They both kind of recognize each other, don't they? Frasier's reading his magazine and sees her in the magazine in an advert, and she recognizes his voice from the radio, and that's the sort of celebrity, I guess, relationship. But she's also a zoologist in her spare time, or I guess model in her spare time.
Yeah, she models part. She's at the university. She's like doing a PhD.
Yeah, and that is kind of the kicker to the story that Frasier tells when he gets back home. He met a supermodel zoologist who is breeding iguanas in the Galapagos Islands or whatever it is, and obviously no one believes him because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, she just dumped a player for the Seahawks and is like now dating Frasier.
Yep,
and no one believes him.
Oh, poor Frasier. I mean, not poor Frasier, because he didn't deserve her.
I really hate Frasier in this episode.
He's really seedy. It's annoying because he hits it off really well with Kelly. The two of them seem like a really good match, and then obviously Frasier has to go and ruin it.
Yeah,
because he is so desperate to have everyone believe him, believe that he is in this relationship. Martin and Niles and Daphne are like, they're not really teasing him.
They're trying to be supportive, but they're completely convinced that he's lying.
They believe he's had a sort of psychotic break.
Yeah, they're kind of trying to call him out on his lie and get him to face reality. Or at least what they think reality is.
And so he, in his desperation, after they've slept together, takes a photo of the two of them in bed, which is just, the worst. It's so horrible. I had it on in the background. I was watching it, and it was in the background of my partner. She was at the computer, and turned around, saw what episode it was, and she was like, "Nah, I can't watch this. This is too bad."
Yeah. Yeah, this is another one that I can't remember what the last one I said this about was, but this is one that if I'm rewatching, I'll probably skip over.
I think the rest of the episode is good enough that it holds up. It's just that last scene, or near enough last scene, of him being so just out of line. And she calls him out on it.
She does.
She calls him out on it immediately, like, this is disgusting. How dare you?
She kind of assumes he's doing it for, like, publicity. Like, she's going to sell it to a magazine. Sell it.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole reason that she's not really willing to go public with the relationship and let anyone else know is because she's just out of dating this footballer, and it kind of, they're keeping the relationship secret.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would assume that wouldn't extend to immediate family. But I mean,
he could have asked.
It would have been up to her. But yeah. So she announces she's leaving to go to the Galapagos, and Frasier and they sleep together, and then she needs to leave. And I think, well, they've got the evening together. At that point, what I would have done is I would have said, like, well, hey, it would be really nice if before you left, you got a chance to meet my family.
Yeah.
Even if he fully has this ulterior motive of, I just want to show off my new hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
If she says it's not okay, then whatever. Then go ahead and take a picture while she's sleeping, I guess.
I mean, the whole thing's very farcical. It's very unrealistic in how it's portrayed. The two of them are in Cafe Nervosa, and she leaves just as they're coming in, and they miss each other. And then he goes out for lunch with her, and she has to run off to the lab because the iguanas are having babies or something.
Yeah.
Eggs, I guess. And the trio, Frasier, Niles, Martin, and Daphne, are like sneak into the restaurant, peering around the corner, and they see him alone. It's all very just unrealistic. Like, you would have bumped into one another by that point. But he does get his wish at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
He does. After she storms out and berates him for taking the photo, she does come back to destroy the camera, at which point Martin and Niles have walked in, and she comes and shouts at them all. What she calls them, or she says, like, where were you all hiding? Under the bed, ready to take more photos, or whatever it is. Assumes that they're paparazzi or something. Which is not unrealistic, to be fair.
Unfortunately, no.
Given
I don't think it is all
given
that
the situation, it's But I don't know. You saying you don't like it?
I don't like it
at all. How would you rank it?
Okay, so as with any episode of Frasier, I don't think it's absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, this is why it was important. I think we did clarify this actually in the recording of the first episode, not just between the two of us. But we did say that these kind of cup ratings that we're giving, a 1 isn't the worst episode of TV ever.
Yeah.
It's the worst episode of Frasier. So, and there's a big difference. The worst episode of Frasier is still better than the best episode of The Big Bang Theory, in my opinion.
Ooh, big talk.
In my opinion. So, yeah. So I gave it a 1.
Wow.
Because I really don't like the episode.
Okay.
I find Frasier really annoying throughout the whole thing. It's like he has this horrible smugness about the fact that he's dating Kelly.
Yeah.
And then he turns into a complete sociopath when people don't believe him.
Yeah.
As if he has any reason to be believed that he's not dated anyone in a year and suddenly he's dating a supermodel zoologist.
Yeah. His social awareness is definitely lacking here.
Yeah. And I just feel like as much as there's like the good little bits of dialogue and Celia Ward's a great guest character, there's not, like, none of the other characters get a chance to really do anything fun.
That's fair. I don't think I would ever give it as low as a 1.
No.
I toyed between a 2 and a 3, and I settled on a 3.
Okay.
Because I think most of the episode is pretty good and pretty funny. I kind of like how desperate Frasier gets. I don't like what he does once he gets desperate.
Yeah.
So I like Martin and Niles teasing him. Daphne as well sort of gives him these funny looks of like, oh yeah, we believe you. Mm-hmm. Sort of stares off to the side. Yeah. When they're sitting in the restaurant and he's sitting alone, Martin and Niles come over, and Martin he does this sort of very, like, he puts on this very serious face and he's like, Frasier, you know that we love you, right? So it's very funny.
Yeah.
So up until that last scene, I don't know. I like it. I like the plot. I think it is nice and sort of farcical.
Yeah.
But it's it's nothing too cringeworthy
mm-hmm.
until that last scene, which kind of brings it down a little bit. I probably would have ranked it higher. There's a little scene at KACL
mm-hmm. after
Frasier gets back. And I hope these episodes kind of blur into one for me because I've watched them so many times. Bulldog, who Dan Butler's still a main cast this season, so he's in quite a few of them as just a sort of 5-10 minute role. He's putting all the coins in the vending machine and getting out little cheese sticks.
Oh yeah,
like sort of dunkers. Mm-hmm. And Roz comes out of the office and says like, "Oh, Bulldog, have you seen Frasier? He's not back from his holiday yet." He's like, "Nah, I've not seen him." And she's like, "Are all those cheese and crackers for you?" And he's like, "What? Don't be ridiculous. I'm having people over tonight." Just the idea of him
buying them individually,
buying enough vending machine cheese and crackers for a dinner party is just funny, hilarious. It's just so Bulldog.
That's another sort of surreal little bit here that just like it just doesn't make any sense at all. But because
it's Bulldog, you kind of believe it.
Yeah,
it's great.
That's funny.
No,
I was going to say, actually, I do like that scene with Roz, mostly just because I always love Roz, but she kind of teases, or doesn't really tease Frasier. Again, doesn't believe that he got any when he was on holiday in Mexico. And Frasier kind of says, like, oh, is it so hard to believe that I could have gone to Mexico for reasons other than trying to have sex? She goes like, oh, yes, you surely went down for the Acapulco Philharmonic.
Oh, poor Frasier, sort of, for some of the episode.
Yeah. I don't really have any sympathy for Frasier, ever, but least of all in this episode.
Fair enough. I think this is probably one of the weaker second parts of like a series cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I think later ones, they kind of get the hang of it a bit better. This one's the first one, and it feels like they're not. It felt like they weren't quite sure if it should be a run-on or if it should be a standalone episode.
Yeah, they maybe could have just done it as its own episode.
Yeah,
it would have taken a bit of reworking, but maybe they could have done.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. We get a much better episode next. I hope you'll agree.
We do.
We have The Gift Horse, featuring Martin's 65th birthday party.
60, yeah. Sounds weird when you say it as 65th.
65th, yeah, it doesn't sound quite right. Sherry writes a little ditty, a little limerick.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? Come on, let's jump and jive. Marty Crane's turning 65.
65.
And I really like this episode.
I do as well.
It stands up really well on its own, I think. It's a nice. This is I'll spoil it a little bit for you, but this is the last episode that we get before things kind of change again in the plot.
Yeah.
For the remainder of the show. There's a big plot point in the next episode, which we'll get to and talk about. But here, and obviously the previous episode was still tying on from the previous season. So this one kind of sits as sort of a standalone in the middle of these two things. Yeah. That's how I always kind of view it.
Mm-hmm. Although there is actually, as well, the last episode on this disc was actually supposed to air here.
Oh, really?
So it was pushed back, but it actually sits before the events of Halloween.
I didn't know that.
It was apparently baseball playoffs or something. They had to move it, but then they wanted to keep the Halloween one at Halloween, so they couldn't shift all the episodes back.
That makes sense. I guess, yeah. When I say there's a big plot coming up, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single episode is suddenly changed.
Yeah.
But that's always kind of going on in the background. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, to be fair, the last episode on the disc doesn't really address it.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. But yeah, here we have Martin's birthday. We have kind of an introduction to the birthday tradition between Frasier and Niles.
Yeah.
Which does kind of crop up again, sort of, a little bit. They are competing to get Martin the best gift. And that's kind of half of the plot.
Yeah.
That then directly leads into the other half of the plot, which is Martin kind of dealing with his retirement and his age.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's one of those sort of half funny, half serious episodes. I think it does it quite well. Honestly.
I think so. Yeah, I like the emotional aspect to it, but I also think it has a lot of funny bits.
Yeah.
In it that keep it going.
We've got most of the episode, the first 2/3 of it, we've got Frasier and Niles bickering. So Niles buys him, what is it? A beer subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Frasier buys him a keychain and a wallet.
Yeah, a wallet. And
I think
something
for the first one. And then the two of them are talking. They're both obviously uneasy that the other one's got the better gift. So they both go and buy new gifts. They then get binoculars.
Mm-hmm.
And Niles gets Seahawks?
Season tickets.
Yeah, season tickets. They then have a conversation with Martin about his old police photos, and they find his horse. Do you get like issued a horse when you're on the force? I would have assumed it was just sort of like not kind of riot police. Like, just if you needed them,
he said
you would.
It was like mounted patrols.
Yeah.
Which.
But would you always get the same horse?
We wouldn't do it here. I don't think
you do get mounted patrols.
You do, but it's not. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's just in major cities. I mean,
yeah. We don't get it in this city. No, of course
we get it in this country. Yeah. At least, maybe in Edinburgh.
Yeah, sort of bigger cities.
So somewhere like Seattle, they would have it, but it would probably just be like when you are assigned to that specifically.
But that's what I was thinking. Would you always get assigned the same horse?
I wouldn't really have thought so.
I see, neither would I. But that's why I was a bit confused.
There would be benefits to it, I guess.
Well, I suppose. Like I suppose canine units, they're always, you have like a handler and a dog, and they're the same.
It's not like a car or something where you can just switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Like an animal you're going to have more of an attachment with.
You need to trust.
And you would benefit, or more the opposite. You would suffer from not having that level of trust.
That's true.
So
I suppose, maybe that's fair enough. But they have this conversation, looking at the old photos and everything, and Niles and Frasier again have this sort of uneasiness that the other one's got the better gift. Mm-hmm. So Frasier, determined to win, he gets a big widescreen TV, and it's not like nowadays widescreen TVs, which are like nice and slim. They just fit up on your wall, get a bracket, that's it. They're not too intrusive. Mm-hmm. Back in 97, you've got like these big units to hold these big TVs. And Frasier shows us how much of an impact that can have on the room. This huge TV, these huge speakers. He remarks it's like Stonehenge.
Yeah.
But he's so desperate to impress Martin and to beat Niles. Unfortunately, Niles has a trick up his sleeve, and he goes down to the stables.
He just says he bought him.
He goes and buys Agassiz, Martin's old horse, and puts him up at an exclusive stables nearby.
Yeah. Is it in this episode? So I've just had a thought when it was talking about Martin's old police photos. Is it in this episode that he tells the story about going into Duke's on the horse? Or is that in Duke's We Hardly Knew Ye? Because that would be quite an interesting bit of...
I think it's the other one.
Not foreshadowing, but something that was set up 2 years earlier as kind of throwaway line, now being turned into a big plot point. He tells the joke about how he walks in on the horse into Duke's and orders a beer, and Duke says, "What's your friend having?" And he
I think that is Duke's We Hardly Knew You when they're sitting at the end.
They're sitting in the...
Because I think at the end he says something like, "Oh, I've told you that one before, haven't I?" Mm-hmm. And Frasier says, "Yeah, I've heard it before."
Yeah.
I don't think we have that here.
Yeah.
We just get the story about him. That was his horse. Agassiz was his horse.
Just quite a funny...
It is, yeah, it's nice, yeah.
Maybe it's just a complete coincidence, but it seems like a nice little bit of continuation from something that was just a throwaway
world building.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't quite go to plan. Martin seems to be... He gets quite depressed when he meets Agassiz. He leaves they go to the party, he leaves early. Frasier and Niles go out. They don't want to sit with Sherry watching the widescreen TV. So they go out and look for him and find him back at the stables. And he is quite depressed, just seeing the age of the horse and how much they've changed. And it's quite a solemn ending.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I would have thought that Martin would be more in tune with his aging and his retirement.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. Because I think maybe in the same way that he is with his disability, it's almost like he's comfortable with it in that it doesn't upset him, and he's kind of working it. Like, it bothers him time to time, but he's accepted it and occasionally uses it to benefit him when he can. He's not unknown to, complain that his leg's playing up.
Yeah.
To get someone to do something for him, and I would imagine he'd be the same with his age, but these things can probably sneak up on you. You suddenly,
I guess,
the horse reminds him. Suddenly you realize that you're older than you picture yourself in your head.
Yeah. Sort of better days as well. Like he loved being a cop. He loved his job.
Yeah.
So to know that both he's retired and those he worked with, I guess, as well, are all retired as well. Yeah, I suppose I can't judge. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be in that position for a long time, so don't really know. But it's quite. It's nice again to see more of Martin's feelings.
Yeah.
And how he sees life and things like that, which we don't always get. So when we do, it's always a nice touch. But it's a wee bit of a downer ending. I don't know. I feel sorry for Niles that he put so much money into the horse, and all it did was serve to make him sad.
Yeah, he says at the end, like, "Oh, I'm sort of regretting this. Clearly wasn't as good of a gift as I thought it was."
Yeah.
And Martin just has this very nice moment of saying, like, "No, it's the best gift I've ever gotten. It's so thoughtful. I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself now, but it's very nice." And then Niles, of course, does the very honourable thing of saying that it was Frasier's gift as well, and then they can have a nice little
share in it. Yeah. Oh, good guy, Niles.
Yeah. You wouldn't catch Frasier doing that. Actually, you might do, to be honest, but
possibly.
I'd be a little bit more surprised if
yeah.
Frasier did it.
How did you rank the gift horse?
So I gave it a 3.
Okay.
I'm feeling a little bit bad about giving it a 3 now that we're going over it and I'm remembering how much I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more... I don't know. I don't think it holds up with some of the other episodes on this disc that I've given 4s or 5s. So I've just sort of rounded down a little.
Yeah, I would agree it doesn't hold up.
Mm-hmm.
But I did give it a 4.
Yeah.
I give it a 4. I like the two sides to it. There are other episodes coming up where the balance between these sort of heartfelt moments and the humor doesn't hit home quite as well.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I think it does it quite nicely. It's not the heartfelt moments aren't too intrusive, and the humor doesn't sort of overshadow it. It's just kind of a nice mix, and it's as I said before, it's a nice intermediary episode between sort of two plot points.
Yeah.
And it does it well, and it's just a nice episode.
Yeah.
It's just cute. I like Agassiz.
Yeah. I'm not usually much of a horse guy.
No, neither am I.
You like horses? No.
Not hugely.
They freak me out.
Really?
I'll be honest. Yeah, horses freak me out. I think it's partly the teeth.
They do have big teeth.
And it's partly the thought that they could kick me in the head and it would kill me.
They have a powerful kick. You've seen those thighs?
Yeah. That'll do it.
That'll
do it. That will do it. I'm not a fan of horses. I don't really like them.
They are very intimidating creatures. Yeah. Like you stand next to one, you're like,
I think sometimes I forget how big they are as well.
Yeah, they're very tall. Very tall things. I've known, I know someone, I'm friends with someone who used to do horse riding and fell off and broke her back.
Oh God.
And just, whoa.
Yeah.
The thought of that's horrible.
It
like, yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're sitting up, you're trusting this animal to kind of carry you and to do jumps and go around a course.
Yeah.
So if it throws you off, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Nothing but respect for people who do that and do it well.
Oh yeah.
Like but I wouldn't. I don't have the balls.
They're not the Grand National. Because they don't treat
the
the horses well.
No. Just because I don't like the horses doesn't mean I definitely don't condone violence against any animals.
We condone the stables that treat their horses well and race them with respect. Have there any guest calls? We've not really, had we?
No. I don't think there's any in the first 2 episodes. There is one in the next episode.
There's one, okay.
Actually, that might be looking at... Because we do have the list open on the screen.
Yeah.
And I can barely see it. But it's... Yeah, it looks like there's only the one in the next episode on this disc.
Then let's get to the next episode, shall we? The one where everything changes.
Yeah.
Halloween. as it is titled, or Halloween Part 1. It is the first of a two-parter, sort of.
Yeah.
It's not like a direct continuation. It doesn't end on a... Well,
Well, it does. I would say so. I would call it.
Does it? See, I've always disagreed with it being a two-parter because I don't see it... I see this episode and the next episode both have the same plot.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, it's not like... I'm trying to think of other examples that more strictly follow, like, there is one kind of 3-act structure across the 2 episodes.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Well,
like
Adventures in Paradise.
Adventures in Paradise, yeah.
You know, you end episode 1, Lilith steps up onto the dock, and then episode 2 starts with that, and then carrying on.
The second act, and then the third act at the end of the second episode. Yeah, and
Whereas
we don't really have that. It's
here we have the end of the episode, it ties it off, and then the next episode starts the next day. It starts afresh.
Yeah.
Addressing the previous day, but...
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
I'm talking in riddles. We should get to the juicy part of the plot.
Yes.
So, after Maris's divorce in season 3, this is the next big turning point for one of our characters, and that would be Roz. Roz is pregnant.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. Or so we think. Or so we don't really know. She is not having a good time at work. She's struggling a bit. She's stressed. Frasier gives her a bit of lip, and she kind of confesses to him that she might be pregnant, and is waiting to find out, and it's all a bit up in the air. Just sideways in tangent to this simultaneously. What's the word? Simultaneously? It's not really, because it's later on in the evening. Well, again, Niall. Right, I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. Right. Niles is planning a Halloween party at the same time, and so Frasier invites Roz along to that to kind of clear her head and just relax for the evening. I think Bulldog and Gil go along from the office invited too as well.
Well, he says it's a fundraiser as well, isn't it? He says it's a...
Oh, is it?
For the library, which is why it's all literary themed.
Yeah, it's all literary themed, so they all have their different characters.
I'd like to do that.
Niles has Cyrano de Bergerac?
Cyrano de Bergerac, yeah.
I can't... Frasier and Roz... Frasier and Niall... I'll try one more time. Yeah. Frasier and Daphne go as the Lady of Bath, and
it's from the Canterbury Tales.
Oh.
He's the narrator from the Canterbury Tales. I can't remember the character's name.
Yeah.
And then it's his wife.
Yeah. Something of Bath, I'm sure they say.
I think it's the wife of Bath.
The wife of Bath,
she's referred to as.
Martin goes as Sherlock Holmes, almost as Sir Peter Wimsey. And Roz goes as O from the story of O.
Oh.
I love that joke. It's so funny. Joke. They play it twice. No, I think 3 times
they
even.
Do it a couple times.
They play it, and it's so good every time. Just it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the story of O?
I have looked it up a couple of times.
Yeah. Because I didn't really know exactly what it was. I assumed, judging by her,
her outfit's pretty telling.
Yeah, I guessed that it was something a little bit risque.
Yeah.
To put it lightly. But I looked up and I was kind of like, I wonder what this is actually about. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like, judging by the era, it's probably not completely. I was picturing kind of like 50 Shades of Grey, but in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's depraved. It's like pretty horrible sounding, to be totally honest. Judging by like the paragraph on Wikipedia that I read,
I'll need to
really sounds
refresh my memory.
Absolutely horrible. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Roz turns up in her leather sort of corset and very short leather skirt. Frasier makes a joke about discipline not being a problem.
Yeah.
So it's all very alludes very much to what the character's all about. We've got who else? We've got Gil goes as Chingachgook from The Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit dicey by today's standards. Definitely. Not sure you would want to.
Yeah,
Native American. I'm guessing by the dress.
I always get it mixed up, and I'm aware that they're very different. It's just because the titles are similar. The Last of the Mohicans and The Last Samurai. Because people complain about it's The Last Samurai is the one that's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is
in,
it not?
And everyone is kind of like, oh, is it? But it's like the character is supposed to be white.
Maybe.
But The Last of the Mohicans, it is supposed to be a not white character.
A Native American, no? Maybe.
Most likely, but I don't know.
Maybe we should look it up.
We maybe should have looked it up. Why don't I will Google it right
now. But a more cheerful one would be the ever-innocent bulldog who turns up as Waldo from Where's Waldo? Mm-hmm. And I think that's everyone that we see anyway. We get a couple more guest stars. We've got, what's her name? Camille Donatacci.
Yes.
Kelsey Grammer's wife at the time. Mm-hmm. Who plays Eve from The Good Book, as it were. And we see Frasier and Eve flirting for most of the episode, which I'm sure Kelsey Grammer had a hand in. But yes, so the bulk of the episode takes place at the party. There's a lot of farce surrounding someone being pregnant. Niles assumes that it's Daphne. Martin gets involved, thinks that it's Daphne, then finds out it's Roz, but thinks it's Frasier who's the father.
Yeah.
It's all just, it's hilarious,
it's all
but
misunderstandings and
it's back and forward. And we eventually find out at the end, after Niles decides to propose to Daphne, thinking that she's pregnant and needs a husband, that Roz is pregnant. And Frasier announces that to a room full of strangers, which she's not very thrilled about. But that's the sort of cliffhanger to be continued screen, is her announcing that she is pregnant. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously a big,
big thing.
Roz has been played as this, single woman looking for a man, like sex character up until now, and it's kind of a wow, this is a real shift.
Yep.
I think it's a very natural shift in dynamic for the character.
I think so.
I think it's a very realistic sort of approach to it, I guess. Mm-hmm. She treats it very sort of naturally. We'll get into it more in the next episode, but she does kind of say, it's this episode. It's the start of this episode. It's a joke. She's played as a joke, but she does say, like, even the best protections only guaranteed 99 out of 100 times, and I can't beat those odds.
Yeah.
That's kind of her acknowledging that, well, it was a possibility. It could have happened.
Yeah.
But I think Roz is a good character for it, because it's not, and this is just the start of her story. Her character only gets better, I think. Mm-hmm. For the rest of the show, but it very much approaches a lot of, I mean, my knowledge of sitcoms at the time is not flawless, but this is one of the big reasons that it's so popular, this plot line, is because Roz is a single woman raising a child in an era where that's still kind of not quite the norm yet. Even if you had a show or a sitcom or whatever, you usually had, and even today, if someone gets pregnant, they're sort of very quickly paired up with another character, or they get married, or they're already married or something.
Yeah.
Whereas, not to give too much away about Roz's plotline, but for a lot of it, she is single, and she is a single mother. And I like the way that it addresses that. I love the way the show plays that off. It never, I mean, they sometimes poke fun at her for it, but never never more than to the degree that Frasier and Roz have their banter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they make comments on it. I can think of a few times where they do make comments about single mothers, but it's always being said by characters that are, like, the point is that they're wrong.
Yeah.
They're being unreasonable, and they're giving Roz a lot of criticism for something that's totally unfair. Mm-hmm. And she is shown over and over again to be a very good mother.
Yeah.
Not only just competent and does a good job raising the kid, but also being like incredibly caring and loving and like, you know, genuinely passionate about being a mother.
Yeah.
You know,
it's nice. It's nice.
It is.
And I like that. It just makes me love Roz's character more because we've had her, and we still do continue to have her sort of jokes about her love life and her dating life and everything, which is great. She's a strong, independent woman, and she likes sex, and that's kind of her character.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really go away, but it adds this extra level of almost realism to her character. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just the way they approach it's great, and I love it. And Peri Gilpin as well is just phenomenal. And I think this gives her a lot of opportunity to show off what she's capable of. There's a lot of scenes where comedic and serious that she really comes into her own, which I love.
Yeah,
just love it. Just love Roz. Love Peri Gilpin. Need to get her on the podcast.
We do.
Did you find out what Chingachgook?
Yes. So Chingachgook is a Native American.
Native American, okay.
So I was kind of close because I'm thinking of in the film, or presumably in the story as well, the main character, or one of the main characters, isn't Chingachgook himself, who is Native American, but another character who's played by Daniel Day-Lewis in the film, who is white.
Yeah.
So I was confusing that. I suppose that's the other connection with The Last Samurai. I was kind of putting those together, and I was like, is that Daniel Day-Lewis's character that's Chingachgook? And then no. But okay, yes. Okay. So yeah, maybe a little questionable.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It was the 90s, as we said. Different time.
It's not the only costume that Gil's putting on, but we'll...
Ooh, yep. You're not wrong. Halloween. I'll get mine out of the way first, because it's maybe not quite as controversial as yours. 5 out of 5.
No? Okay.
I love Halloween. It's one of my favourite episodes of the whole show.
Yeah.
Mainly because of Roz. Despite her not having a full... I was about to say full frontal approach there. That didn't...
It doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good. Like, front and centre, the whole episode, it is still all about her, and the farce arises because of her situation, and the moments that she's in it are amazing, but also the farce at the party is hilarious.
Very good.
And it's just, it all kind of just wraps up into this nice little package of an episode.
Yeah.
So...
Now, you know what? I'm actually going to revise my rating, which I don't do very often, but I am actually also going to give that a 5.
Yeah?
Because I do think it deserves that. Because I think that the whole misunderstandings and all the double entendres that are being said throughout the episode are maybe the best across the whole show. And that's one of the things I always love about Frasier, is when we have an episode where it's like people saying things and other people completely misunderstanding them. And actually, this episode and another episode later this season, the Christmas special from season 5, are 2 episodes that I think do it the best across the whole show.
Oh God, I can't think what the Christmas episode is this season.
Perspectives at Christmas.
Yeah.
I think has...
Yeah.
For the same reasons, I think also is fantastic. And I agree. I think the emotional weight behind Roz and her this whole new story kicking off here is all great.
Excellent.
Now we do have the one guest caller on this desk.
Better not miss it.
We're not going to miss it. So while Roz is not doing an incredible job at her work because she's feeling very stressed out and whatever, not having a great time, she accidentally puts... Well, I guess this isn't necessarily her mistake. She's making an appointment with her manicurist.
Yeah.
And Frasier puts her on the air, but I don't know if she would be supposed to be on the call lines. Whatever. For whatever reason, Roz's manicurist, Dorothy, accidentally gets put on the air. And she is voiced by Cindy Crawford.
The Cindy Crawford.
The Cindy Crawford. Who was a model.
Thank you.
If you weren't aware of that.
I know the name.
In case anyone is
and I'm
aware.
sure I know the person. I just wasn't really
Cindy
certain,
Crawford.
so I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Cindy Crawford, yes, was a model and did acting as well. She acted in various things. Usually kind of appeared as herself in various things, and also kind of played not quite parodies of herself, but sort of played the character that she is in real life, the sort of supermodel type characters, like famous and whatever, if you see what I mean.
I think I was thinking of Cyndi Lauper. That's why, I wasn't. Yeah. I knew it wasn't Cyndi Lauper, which is why I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it's one of those names that I know, but I don't know if I knew that much about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there you go.
There we go. And part 2 of this, it's annoying that they don't have like overarching titles. It's just like part 1, this episode, part 2, that episode. And it's like, it's not really what a 2-parter, but whatever. Right, okay. The Kid is part 2 of this small series, I guess. And it approaches the more serious aspect of Roz being pregnant, I think, while Halloween plays it more farcical and sort of, oh, maybe she is pregnant. Oh, it's not really real yet. Who knows? This episode treats it more as, okay, Roz is pregnant. Who's the father? What's she going to do? How does she feel about things? And that this episode kind of addresses all of that. And I wouldn't say it necessarily sacrifices the humor in favor of a more serious tone.
Yeah.
But it definitely is played more serious than other episodes.
100%.
So it's, it's not that it's not funny, it's just that you can tell that it's being played more serious.
Yeah.
It's a weird line that I'm trying to describe.
Well, there's not as much room for like funny dialogue because they're exploring more serious stuff. There's more kind of genuine. There's nice little bits of them kind of talking seriously about what Roz is doing, what her plans are.
Yeah,
there are good jokes in it.
There always
are.
Still funny.
It's always still a funny.
That's the thing. That's what I was trying to say. But it's more serious. Basically, so it's definitely more serious. So for most of the episode, Frasier is trying to find out who the father is. So initially, Roz, she says, obviously the first question is, are you going to keep the baby? And yes, she is. So that's kind of out of the way. We know that she's going to have the baby. And then the next question is, have you told the father? Does he know? Things like that. And Roz tells him that he does know, that she has told him that he's now this is funny.
That is funny.
That he's an archaeologist in Cairo. No, sorry, no. Which way round is it?
Frasier oh God.
Yeah.
She tells Frasier
yeah.
that he is an architect.
An architect in Cairo. And then later on, she tells him that he's an archaeologist in Cairo. Now, if you remember, 2 episodes back, I made a similar oopsie when talking about Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So I was watching this episode and was like, oh yeah.
It is an easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
I think lots of people do make that mistake.
See, this is what Frasier kind of jumps on that. Roz makes the mistake when telling the story the second time.
Yeah.
She's round for dinner and she's telling the family as well as Frasier kind of recapping about the father, and she makes that mistake. And Frasier kind of jumps on her and says, like, you said he was an architect, but now you're saying he's an archaeologist, or whatever way around it is.
Yeah.
As if that's sort of a gotcha.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, I misspoke. And like, yeah, that's an easy thing to mess up. So
as we know.
As we know. But I mean, it is an easy thing to mess up. And he kind of unfairly, I think, pushes her because she's clearly not ready to address it. But at the same time, he is right. I think she says something like, they have a little argument in the kitchen, and she says like, "Oh, I don't have to tell you who the father is. It's none of your business." And he says, well, fair enough, but it is his business.
Mm-hmm.
It is his business that, if you're having this child, he needs to know. And she kind of accepts that. And I think that's fair enough, but he could be a little bit more gentle.
Yeah.
I think. He seems quite unfairly harsh on Roz, kind of commanding almost, telling her what to do.
Yeah. He's also quite judgmental in it, because he does sort of, when she first says, like, okay, fine, you've got me. I wasn't being honest. I haven't actually told the father yet. He says, like, do you not know who it is?
Yeah.
Do you not know who the father is? And she's clearly offended by that.
Yeah.
I think, as you should be. Because, like, even if she was in a position where she had slept with 2 different guys around about the same time, and or more than two, and wasn't sure who it was,
yeah,
that's not really an excuse to make her feel bad.
No. And again, it's not really his business.
No, it isn't.
At all. So, yeah, I think he is unfairly harsh here. But at the end of the day, what he says about the father needing to know is
true.
I think, that's fair enough. And so we're introduced to Rick after a funny little scene at Cafe Nervosa, where Rick turns out to be their waiter.
Yes.
Young 20-year-old?
He is 20.
20.
The character is 20.
The character's 20.
The actor is not.
Definitely not 20.
He was 28.
Yeah.
At the time of filming.
He did, no way. But
he does look quite young. Because what,
not
like,
20.
He does not look 20, no, but he does look. He is noticeably younger than Roz.
That's true.
You know, Roz isn't exactly an old woman.
Yeah.
Like, so I do think, like, I could believe that the actor was maybe 25.
Yeah.
You know, go down a few years, but no.
I think they just wanted to play it.
They wanted to play it for laughs.
For laughs, yeah. But he's a nice kid.
Yeah,
he's all right. I've always thought the episode title, "The Kid," who does that refer to? Rick or the child?
Is a good point.
Because I've always thought it could be ambiguous.
It could be, yeah. It's sort of referring to them both.
Because he is a kid. Like he acts like a kid as well. You know, he talks about riding his bike everywhere, about going off to college in Paris, in France.
He's doing like an exchange thing, and
he's got his whole life ahead of him, kind of thing. So they do treat him as, you know, a child, but well, not a child, but like a younger person. But there's a nice scene after a conversation at Cafe Nervosa. Rick runs off, and the two of them end up again in Roz's apartment. He's kind of said, I'm gonna quit university. I'm gonna work full time. I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna look after the baby, and we'll make a life out of it.
Yeah.
And Roz is very adamant that he won't throw his life away.
Yeah.
For this child. He's got so much to live for and
to
go and do, and she doesn't love him, basically.
Yeah.
And which is, I mean, he takes it very well.
He does.
And she's very honest about it all. She wants to raise this child. She's happy to do it alone. And this is what I mean when I say the episode's more serious, because you get virtually no room for humor in this scene. There's a couple of little jokes, but overall it's all about Roz expressing how it's her life and how she wants to raise her child and how he's a young man and has so much to live for and blah, 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 blah. And it's really, it shows to me that the writers can do serious just as well as they can do humor. Not sometimes they can do it at the same time.
Yeah. But
sometimes they can completely separate it out and it works just as well, in my opinion. But yeah, we end with sort of another, continuing in Rose's apartment. Frasier comes to take her to dinner, and she gets quite emotional about the prospect of becoming a mother, and it's the first time we've it's the first time we've seen something like that, I think, in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Someone having a very, like a crisis like that.
Yeah.
Frasier is very, very good. He goes full therapist mode immediately and is, well, I suppose full friend mode as well.
Yeah.
He's right there for her and you know, saying like, you know, you're not doing it alone. You've got me, you've got us. You know, you'll be a great mom, and Perry Gilpin is her acting there is amazing. Like, she just does such a good job of making you believe that Roz is having this sort of full-on existential crisis. Like, what is she going to do? And I can't think off the top of my head of episodes we've watched so far that have you know, a breakdown or an emotional scene like that isn't layered with a bit of humor.
Yeah.
Even like Niles, when he's leaving Maris, they have that scene in the house where he has a bit of a breakdown. Mm-hmm. That's still got this undertone of him being a bit manic and
that's
physical humor all over the place.
That's the one I was thinking of as well.
Yeah.
So I think that, and another one actually in the last disc we talked about in Are You Being Served?
Yeah.
When he it starts to panic, starts to have second thoughts about whether he's going to sign these divorce papers or not. But there's a lot of humor in it. There is, and we don't have that here.
Yeah. This is
You're
very
right.
much straight played. Roz's, you know, panicking. Mm-hmm. She has no idea what to do. She can't. What was it? Well, it starts off as a bit of a joke because she can't. She's let the milk go out of date.
Yeah.
And she then has this sort of panic that, like, well, I can't let that happen if I have a child.
Yeah.
You can't let milk go out of date. Kids need milk.
Yeah.
You know. But then from then on, it's the two of them chatting and just having this heart to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice. I don't know. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I like it for different reasons than the likes of Halloween,
mm-hmm.
where Halloween's funny.
Yeah.
This one's serious. And it's two sides of the same coin, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what would you give it then? How would you rate it?
I'm going here and I'm praising it, right? But I did give it a 3.
Right.
And I'd like to justify my 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because despite some superb acting, I feel that the balance in this episode isn't what it could be. So they've created this great, serious and emotional episode, and that's great. But there is a lack of humor in it, and the writers obviously chose to go down that route. You can tell by the fact that they've not included jokes in, you know, the scenes with Roz and Frasier and things like that, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did that to themselves. They kind of closed that door.
Mm-hmm.
They chose to do a more emotional episode than a more sort of satirical one, I guess. So I think there are other episodes that can that ride that balance better. They're maybe not as serious, and they're maybe more funny, but I think they balance it better, and I think that's what this episode suffers from. Despite being a great serious episode, it's not as funny.
Yeah.
And after, I don't know, I feel like I'm struggling to justify a 3 now.
No, you're justified in giving it whatever you feel, because I understand what you're saying. You know, it is still a comedy show at the end of the day.
That's it. You don't come away from it going, that was funny. Yeah. You come away from it going like, oh man, I feel for Roz. Like that must be tough for her. You know. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not bad writing. It's not bad acting. But I like to feel good coming out of Frasier.
Yeah.
I don't like feeling down on it because one of my favourite characters is struggling, you know.
And it's easy for us to just jump to another episode. If we're looking for laughs, we can just jump to another episode.
Yeah.
At the time it aired, you know, someone tuned in on a Thursday evening for their Laugh Riot episode of Frasier, and then they got, you know, significantly fewer jokes and felt a bit sad for a week, you know.
What did you give it?
So I gave it a 4. Because where I do agree with you, and I think I don't want to say it would benefit from having more jokes in it, because again, it's not, if you just shoehorned a bunch of jokes into what is there in the episode, it's not really going to improve it. I just think, it is lacking the humor that you probably would look for in a show like Frasier. Yeah. But I just really enjoy the dynamic. I think, the acting, the writing, all of that, as you've said, is great across the board. I think it deserves a 4. I think it's a great continuation of the previous episode.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue. I won't lie. I kind of went with my gut on it. Mm-hmm. I come out of it going like that. It wasn't a bad episode. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 4.
Yeah.
But that's the next biggest turning point in the show, I think. Uh-huh. There's still a couple to come.
Plenty more.
But this is one of the biggest ones, because we do obviously have, I guess, a new character coming into the show because of it. Even if they're not in it frequently, there's still a lot of Roz's life and character revolves around. I won't say the name yet.
No.
So we've got that to look forward to, and that's great.
Yeah.
But for now, the 1000th show, which is also the 100th episode of Frasier.
It is.
Which is funny. Probably confused a few people.
Not according to the Wikipedia list, though.
Did the Wikipedia list lie?
Oh, is it maybe because of 3 Dates and a Breakup?
Oh, possibly.
I think it might be if 3 Dates and a Breakup is...
We need to have a look. Yeah, here it says that The Kid is episode 100, and with the 1000 show is 101. But I'm fairly certain that's not correct. I think the whole idea was that this was episode 100.
Yeah.
And it's it's a bit meta.
It is.
In how the episode approaches it. Frasier is coming up on his 1000th show, 1000th radio broadcast. I tried to do the math and work out how long it meant he's been there for, and then I just got tired and confused and gave up.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as well, because I figure you've got...
Because he works 5 days a week, excluding holidays. You're talking like 230 episodes a year, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be after
252 times 5. 52 times 5.
4.5 years.
Yeah, which is give or take where we are in the show. Yeah. So I guess it makes sense. But he is being very tactful. He's trying to tell everyone how much he doesn't want any fuss. He doesn't want anyone to go out of their way. He doesn't want any parades. He doesn't want any special promotions or anything like that, when we all know he does.
Yeah, I really hate the false modesty that he has in this episode.
He should be proud.
He should be. No, like I'm not disagreeing. That's the thing that annoys me, is that it's totally justified being proud of the work that he's done.
Yeah.
Not only because he's helping people, but also just creating something for 1,000 episodes of something.
That's a lot.
It's a big accomplishment, being in it for however many years.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It is, absolutely.
If we keep on at the rate that we're going, this is a much easier maths. If we keep on at the rate that we're going, our 1000th episode will come out in 2042. So,
well, just 20 more years.
Yeah.
Of sitting across from you every weekend.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm not overjoyed either. Don't worry. But yeah, 1,000 episodes. I was say 3 years, but that's not right. 1,000 episodes of doing 5 episodes a week probably goes a lot quicker.
Yeah,
and probably feels a lot quicker as well. And I mean, Frasier, he does, after being very coy and tactful, he kind of caves in even if it is under false pretense, he tries to convince Roz that it's for her benefit. She's got a baby on the way. Yeah. You know, it's, who is Bob and Mipsy? What is it? Who is it? He says one of the rival stations got a huge increase in ad revenue after their 1,000th show parade. So, we need to do it for you, kind of thing. But we all know it's for him. But he gets a big event. You know, Frasier Crane Day in Seattle. They do a live outdoor show at the Space Needle. All these celebrations. The mayor's coming. He gets a key to the city. It's huge. Yeah. Absolutely huge.
The actual mayor.
Is it the actual mayor?
It's the actual mayor of Seattle.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Who gets pestered by Daphne.
He does.
Daphne's friend Xena is coming in from Mazatlan to Mazatlan.
To Mazatlan.
She wants to go and meet her mother on a mother's ship. Yeah. And because she uses the term alien, the mayor gets very confused and irritated, I suppose.
Yeah. On the mothership.
Sends her off to get help. So the majority of the episode is following Frasier and Niles around Seattle. It's probably a bigger budget than other episodes, given that we actually are on location around Seattle. It's not on a stage or anything.
This is the only episode to actually be filmed in Seattle as well.
Only, really?
Which would make sense. Because I couldn't actually think of any others that I would have expected to be filmed in Seattle.
I think even outdoor scenes in other episodes, you can probably tell that it's on a stage set somewhere, whereas here they are walking through the streets. You can see the Space Needle in the distance and everything. And they're driving around. And a series of mishaps later. Frasier spilling coffee, Niles getting attacked by a fish. They get mugged. Frasier buys new pairs of shoes that don't fit. Just everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Everything goes wrong. And he is getting later and later. He's missed the opening. He's just trying to get there to the parade on time. And it's just everything's getting in his way. And it ends on a really, really nice note. Because you're kind of... Frasier and Niles are bickering through the whole episode. They're both at each other's throats. Frasier because he thinks Niles is jealous. Niles because he is jealous.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of going at each other, and I don't like to see it. I don't know. I feel sorry for Niles because he says at one point during the episode that he feels like he's being a bit eclipsed.
Yeah.
And I think he is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And just the way that the way that Niles is. Oh, that was my tummy. You hear that?
No.
No, it's fine. It's just hungry. Just making noises. The way that Niles is, his jealousy is quite ferocious. Mm-hmm. It tends to lead to a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
And Frasier as well is being quite resentful almost that Niles is jealous.
He's really rubbing it in.
He is as well.
He is really rubbing it in. And like I hate the false modesty. And I hate him being so obnoxious about his accomplishments and about his fame.
Yep.
Especially to Niles, when Niles has made it clear that he's bothered by the fact that he's feeling eclipsed. Niles does act unfairly.
He does a little bit.
He is rude and snarky. And then, but no, they have the nice little moment where he kind of says like, "Oh, it's." Frasier feels quite bad as well that he's feeling a bit guilty for wanting to celebrate. There is that part of the reason that he's being quite so like, "Oh, no one fuss about me," even though he really does want it, is because he feels bad about wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, this is just him stepping to back again. Like another step towards being an entertainer rather than being a psychiatrist.
I was going to say that. Yeah, it definitely is. They do treat it more like that and treat that he's this sort of entertainment persona is kind of taking over a little bit.
It's like he's going down the street and people are saying, like, people recognize him on the street and they're either waving or pointing or saying hi to him, and he's just, rather than stopping and talking to them, he's just shouting, "I'm listening." He's just saying his catchphrase. which isn't something that a psychiatrist would do. That's something that a DJ would do.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. But we get after everything, Frasier and Niles kind of make up, but Frasier then ditches him again when he gets offered a cab. But he and the cab driver get to talking, and he's having a rubbish day. He's been invited to a friend's wedding, and his ex-wife's going to be there.
It's his ex-wife's getting remarried.
Oh, is it? Sorry. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. And he's worried that he's not going to see the kids as often, and he's not having a great day. And Frasier feeling very... At the start of the ride, he's like, oh, we need to get there. We need to get to my parade. We need to get there in time, and blah, 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 blah. And by the end of the ride, he stops and he says, like, no, I've got time. Tell me your story. And I really love that scene.
Yeah.
I really, really love it. I think it shows that Frasier cares. It shows that he does genuinely care about helping people.
Yeah. And
this is a guy who needs a shoulder to lean on and someone to listen to him, and Frasier's there to listen.
Yeah.
And it's just so lovely. And the fact that he's missing his parade. We've spent the whole episode trying to get to this parade.
Yeah.
Series of unfortunate circumstances, and we finally get there, and he's like, no, I'd rather hear about you and your kids than go and celebrate. And it's just brings a tear to my eye. It's just so lovely. Just so lovely.
I always think that John, the chauffeur, I always think he looks like Bruce Willis. Do you ever think he looks like Bruce Willis?
I always think he looks like JFK.
I suppose I can kind of see that.
Every time I see him,
I can kind of see JFK.
He looks like JFK to me. But yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, they have a nice little moment. I kind of, in a way, wish that we saw him again.
Yeah.
Maybe just not as like a proper recurring secondary character who keeps showing up like Frasier's pal that he's constantly meeting for coffee. But
happened to be a taxi driver that pops up more than once.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. We get a final post-credits scene.
We
don't often go into details on those, but this one's significant because you mentioned it.
I did.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
A celebration of the real Frasier Crane Day on September 11th.
Yeah.
1997.
97.
And we get a scene of Kelsey Grammer singing the theme song a cappella with a bunch of these other guys. It's wonderful. It's really good. I don't know what else happened at the celebration.
No, I don't really know.
I've never really looked it up, but it looked like a lot of fun. I wish we could have been there.
Yeah.
Well, you having just been born.
Me being, 6 months old?
Yeah, and me being like, 2.5 or something. Yeah, probably wouldn't have gone to Seattle for that. But
yeah.
Anyway. How did you rate the 1000th show?
So,
or the 100th show, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it.
This one, a 3.
Okay.
Because I don't love it. I like the setup, generally speaking. I like the fact that it's all filmed on location, and it has a very different feeling and a very different style from a lot of the other episodes that sets it apart and makes it nice and unique, which is good to have every so often.
Yep.
I don't always love it if an episode is just like totally out of place, but at the same time, I do like having one that's unique and done well. And it still fits and it still works, but it's got a big thing that sets it apart. But no, I find Frasier really annoying. I think a lot of what happens, he really does bring on himself.
He does, yeah.
Which just makes me lose sympathy for him, really. I think if he just kind of gone, like, okay, I'm getting a celebration, cool, I'm glad to get a celebration. This can help further my career and I can help more people. Great.
But where's the plot in that?
Well, yeah, nowhere. I get it. It's like the whole show is just Frasier making life difficult for himself. I know. Yeah, I think when it's particularly egregious, it bothers me enough.
I know what
to
you're
lose
saying.
at a point.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, 3.
I gave it a 4.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 because I do like this episode. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I can kind of look past the Frasier being obnoxious during this episode because it feels quite unique.
Yeah.
And again, that scene at the end kind of makes me forget how obnoxious he was.
It is a nice little scene, isn't it?
I don't know. I really like it. I just think it's really, it highlights the very best parts of Dr. Frasier Crane.
Mm-hmm.
I think that little scene does it so well. And yeah, as the episodes go on and as they get a bit more farcical and Frasier gets a bit more obnoxious, we kind of get that fewer and fewer, less and less, but fewer and fewer times.
Yeah.
We see Frasier having these nice little moments, or they're played as the silver lining to the episode where he was awful.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of the case here, but don't know. I still like it.
Yeah.
So, meh. Final episode of this disc.
Yes.
Was supposed to be the second episode of this disc.
So I suppose would have been
apparently
supposed to be the second or third.
Voyage of the Damned. We get a quick introduction at KCL and then in the apartment about Frasier being offered an Alaskan cruise tour where he has to go and speak for, I guess, a couple of the days as a guest speaker.
I think they just say like 1.5 hour lecture
one lecture. And then he gets a free room, free board. His family can join. Great. Free holiday for a quick lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Even if he does take a wee bit of a... It's kind of the same as the previous episode, actually. Mm-hmm. He kind of thinks, he does want to go, but he finds another reason to accept it. I think he says, it's one of Roz's colleagues from another station or something.
Yeah, it's someone she'd met at a party years ago.
Yeah.
And he kind of goes like, well, if it's a friend of yours, I can't say no. You've forced my hand. Now I have to accept it. And she kind of goes like, she's not my friend. I don't get it. He's like, I've accepted it now. Frasier, as always, has to sheathe anything he feels guilty about in a thick layer of denial.
Denial, yeah.
You know?
But you get a free holiday out of it, so you can say whatever you like.
I mean,
honestly,
I would do it. I would do it.
To be fair, I wouldn't even make excuses. I'd be like, I'll do it. I'll sell out.
Yeah.
If anyone out there's listening, want a quick 1.5-hour podcast for a free cruise, we'll do it.
Yeah, 100%.
If you think your attendees would want to listen to a couple of billers ramble about Frasier.
Yeah.
I think that market's maybe a wee bit too niche for a cruise ship, but you never know.
They do cruises. Like you get like Disney cruises.
Yeah, themed cruises.
And they've had like Star Trek cruises.
Yeah.
So it's okay, Frasier, maybe not so much.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe we need to do a podcast on something that's a little bit less niche. And then we can maybe get a free cruise. Someone suggested to us, one of our listeners messaged us, and we're having a lovely chat, and she suggested that we do a podcast on Love Island. And I said, no, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't like Love Island. Well, I've never watched it, admittedly, because I'm an elitist, I guess. But I would just hate to watch Love Island.
Like quality TV.
Yeah, and she said it'll be like when someone sells out in order to fund their passion projects. We'll get loads and loads of listeners and loads of sponsorship deals from doing a Love Island podcast. And then we can do like a Cheers retrospective and not worry about the fact that we're not getting any money for it, you know?
I mean, that could lead to some humor.
Possibly, sure could.
We should do a bonus episode on.
That wouldn't
be
funny.
There's not as enough of a tie to Frasier, I think, to justify a bonus episode on Love Island. We'd maybe think of something though.
Oh, could try it.
Maybe think of something. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a limit to what I would sell out and do. But doing a lecture on a cruise ship, not one of them. I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's
really. Like, you're still talking psychiatry. You're still a psychiatrist doing a lecture.
It just so happens it's at sea.
Yeah, he's not even endorsing the shit. He kind of says like, "Oh, I don't like doing endorsements," and it's like it's not. No one's asking you to do an advert or be on the cover of the leaflet or anything. They're just asking you to. They're basically offering him a job.
Yeah, a gig. I'd have no issue with it. No issue at all. And I mean that's kind of secondary. Even though that is the established plot for the episode, that quickly becomes secondary after Niles finds out that Maris is not. She's going on holiday.
She's going to Zurich for her for an experimental de-aging treatment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Unrelated. There's a line. I think it is in the next season where they make a comment about how she goes to Zurich to get her elbows done. And then when David Head Pierce says it, he kind of does a little bird motion. You're like,
so he is feeling pretty down, and when they all go on the cruise, it turns out that both Martin and Frasier have invited Maris to the cruise to, I guess, reconcile in sorts.
It was over their anniversary, yeah. So and they
is it over? Of course
it's
it is.
It's like the day of their anniversary, and they Niles is upset that they weren't going to see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a mishap with I want to say Cindy. It's not Cindy. What's her name?
Mimi Cosgrove.
Mimi, not Cindy. Yeah. Who is very flirtatious with Niles.
Yeah.
Maris, unfortunately, after appearing on the cruise ship, sees this and pays the waiter a lot of money to throw drinks in Niles' face. I love that waiter. I love that. I don't know who he is. He's a wee guest star.
He is really funny.
But he turns up and he says, like, I've got a message from you from that woman over there in the black veil. Here you go, and throws the drink in his face.
It's really funny.
I'm really sorry, sir, but I've never seen a tip that big in my life. And then he kind of continues to do.
He does it a few more times.
A couple more times.
So the second time he does it, and I've noticed this, I think he gets some of it on Frasier.
Yeah.
You could see that some of it hits Frasier, and he quite clearly wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I think just Kelsey Grammer wasn't expected to get hit by any of it, and you can see Perry Gilpin.
She's
cracking up.
She's so hard.
I was going to say trying not to laugh.
She's
just visibly laughing.
Totally cracks up.
Yeah.
And it kind of the scene runs on, and Niall, David Hyde Pierce, as ever, keeps his straight face, and then turns back to the waiter and says, "Just out of curiosity, how much are these running you?"
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But they almost forgot the best part about the episode, the Barracuda.
Oh, I love Carlos the Barracuda Delgato.
Delgato, yes.
Played by Miguel Perez.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, well, neither do I really.
Okay, but that's his name.
The
okay.
actor that plays the Barracuda. But.
I sort of retired Spanish singer who had a hit called "Do the Barracuda," and it's this very cheesy pop song. You know the style, like the European style, very cheesy, poppy, all about like sex or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It's just egotistical man song thing, and he allegedly will find the most beautiful woman on the cruise ship and give her a rose, indicating that he wishes for her to come into his cabin later that night.
to be his especial lady.
And that actually, talking of Perry Gilpin cracking up, there's another scene later on where Maris gets the rose from the Barracuda.
Yeah.
So they're all chatting about how he's going to be the especial how she's going to be the especial lady.
Yeah.
And Ross turns around and says, "Oh no, do you think she's going to do the Barracuda?" And then you see Perry Gilpin, she can't keep it together. She just cracks up again saying that line.
So funny.
And it's really hard to tell because you can't. It's one of those like laughs that you can't quite tell if it was deliberate or not.
Yeah,
but it's still hilarious.
It is really, really
it's
funny.
So funny to watch. The episode eventually culminates in everyone sneaking into Maris's cabin and hiding in the bathroom, trying to peek on what's going on, if she's going to do the barracuda or not.
Yeah.
But it turns out that her and Niles have actually had a nice little chat and reconciled. Or, well, I keep saying reconcile. They're not really. They're still kind of in the process of reconciling. They're still separated, kind of. I don't know. But they're going to spend the night together anyway, and have a lovely time, which is good. Nice, I guess. Good for them.
Yeah.
It's hard to say with Maris.
It is.
You don't really want them to get together.
Yeah.
But whatever makes Niles happy, I guess. I think this is a good episode to round off the disc. I will say, I don't know if it would have quite the same impact as if it was in the second spot.
No, maybe not.
It's kind of nice after all the stuff with Roz to kind of wind down a little bit and go a bit, lean into the sort of hilarity a bit more.
Yeah.
It's not quite farcical. It's not, there's no like misunderstandings. It's just silly and fun and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the barracuda who's just ridiculous and amazing.
Yeah.
You've got all the stuff with the waiter and Maris, which is just so typical of Maris, and just all the stuff on the revolving the cruise ship as well is good fun.
Yeah.
All the additional little things like looking at the posters, and Frasier was expecting Gore Vidal, and he's got some clown, Pickles the clown or something. What's his name?
Giggles O'Shea.
Giggles O'Shea, the clown, and it's Martin eating at the buffet, trying caribou meat for the first time.
It's funny having the caribou. I find it, it's pretty unreasonable for Frasier to be like, oh, of course, my name's going to be up on the poster next to Gore Vidal and General Schwarzkopf. Of course he's going to be up next to the Barracuda. Like, he's up next to people that Martin has heard of. Or they had all really heard of them.
Yeah.
And Martin, at the very least, had heard of I can't remember the name of the fourth act, who was a magician.
Mm-hmm.
But said, like, oh, I'd seen the show before. Like, he's really good. He's just not super famous.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not Penn Jillette, but he's like...
Who?
Penn Jillette, like...
No, I was joking.
Oh, okay.
Because you said he wasn't super famous.
Okay.
That was...
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So, what do you think then?
I give it a 4.
You give it a 4?
I give it a 4. I really like this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think it holds up really well against the other episodes on the disc. I think, compared to like The Kid, it's definitely like the other end of the spectrum, whereas The Kid is very serious in nature. This one's just ridiculous and silly. Yeah. But sometimes you need that. I don't know. It's just a light-hearted break from some of the more... Even like The 1000th Show, it deals with things like Frasier's relationship, I guess, with his show and his celebrity.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice just to have an episode that's just about... It's not really about anything. It's just silly and fun. And I kind of like that.
We've mentioned before that there's a kind of bounce back and forth all the time with how Frasier is perceived by the public.
Yeah.
Frasier and his show is perceived by the public. Sometimes it's like everyone loves him and he's a real local celebrity and like he gets recognized and everyone says like, oh, I love your show, you're so great, and like, oh, his ratings are great and he brings in all his advertising money. And then the next episode, he'll mention his show to someone and no one will have heard of it.
Yeah.
Or he'll think someone is a fan of his show and they'll just be like, no, I just know who you are because I see your billboards around the town. Like, of course, I don't actually listen to your show, And I think it's quite funny having this immediately after the Thousands show, where it's like, it's Frasier Crane Day in Seattle, and there's thousands of people are here to celebrate at the base of the Space Needle, and, you know, everyone's coming up to him and congratulating him, and everyone knows who he is and is a big fan. And then it's like, go to the reject boat with Giggles O'Shea and the Barracuda, you know?
All aboard the reject boat.
Toot, toot. You know, yeah. So I like it as well. Maybe not quite as much. So I gave it a 3 because I think it's a little bit more. I kind of have this feeling when I watch it that I feel like there's a scene that I can remember that just isn't in it, if that makes any sense. Like, not anything specific. I just feel like I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, we're getting to the bit where something else happens, something funny happens, and then there's just not there. I feel like there's just bits missing.
I kind of get what you mean. Yeah, there's not really much of a resolution on Frasier's part. That plot kind of fizzles out.
Yeah.
He kind of realizes, oh, it's not the famous cruise ship with Gore Vidal on it that I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just another sort of D-list celebrity.
Yeah.
And that kind of just doesn't really go anywhere. It switches to the Niles and Maris stuff. So I know what you mean. It just feels like it's just missing something.
Yeah.
Don't know what that thing is, though.
Yeah. I just sort of, I kind of have that feeling where I'm like, I'm just expecting more from it. Like, even when I'm watching it, I'm just thinking, like, it gets to the end, and then I think, like, oh, what happened to the other half of the episode?
That's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. Still a good episode.
I think so. I do. I really like the Barracuda. I think he's such a funny character. I mean, he's such a sleaze.
Yes.
And he's just like, he's really quite creepy. Like he comes on very strong and
like bites his teeth at Roz.
Yeah, like when she's clearly not interested. And of course it is just played. Okay, it's not good that stuff like that is played for humor, obviously, but like it's just played as like he's not a threat, he's just being weird, which is funny. And he's just, I don't know, he's a fun little one-off character. Yeah, he's a totally wacky character. And I like Mimi Cosgrove as well.
Good as well.
The actress who plays her appears later on as well. She appears in a later episode.
And I can tell you which episode.
Yeah.
She played in the episode with the clown.
Yes. Yeah.
She plays the patient.
Stephanie Faracy is the name.
She's in a lot of things, actually. I think she does a lot of sitcoms and stuff. Yeah. I remember from How I Met Your Mother as well. And I think Big Bang Theory as well. You made a joke. I think she's in that as well.
She may well be. I'm afraid to say that I don't know the Big Bang Theory all that well.
And yet you were ready to insult it as we started this episode.
Well, yeah.
No, it's a good disc. It's a good start to season 5. I think I was a little bit less harsh on some of the episodes than you were. But overall, I think it's probably a decent rating overall.
Yeah, no, I definitely still think it's overall still good. I think, I mean, season 4 didn't have many ones from either of us. I think there were maybe 1 or 2.
Did we even get any ones in season 4?
We might not have done 2s. Oh, I'm thinking of 2s. We didn't. I don't think we had any 1s, but we had a couple of 2s.
We had a couple of 2s, yeah.
And I feel like season 5 is sort of the same in that there aren't many episodes that are like really significant dips in quality.
Yeah.
I just don't think it has quite as many high points.
No,
as
that's
season 4.
That's fair.
So it's more consistent and it's more sort of down the middle, but there's not really anything about it that's bad compared to something. Season 1 and season 2 have more like significant like bad episodes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I don't know if I would agree with you in saying that we don't have as many high points.
Oh no, we do definitely have a few actually.
I think there is a few.
One here. I mean, we've got the Christmas special I mentioned is on the next disc.
Ski Lodge.
Is that the next disc as well?
I think that's the following disc.
Yeah. After that,
there's a few.
There are definitely. That's true. Maybe I'm just completely talking out my arse then. But you know,
I think understandably there is episodes on this disc I think that are deserving of a little bit more criticism than others, so that's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. But before I let you go, give me a highlight. Can't let you be too harsh.
Oh. Okay, so my highlight is from the gift horse.
Yep.
So Frasier and Niles are having their whole squabble about who's going to give Martin the better gift. And Niles shows up to Frasier's apartment right before they head off to the party. And I don't know if he's collecting him or whatever. And he shows up and that's when he sees the big, huge TV.
Yep.
And he says, like, I can't believe you've bought this. I can't believe you've done this to your apartment. I can't believe that you've, stooped so low as to go out and buy another present after you said you weren't going to, just to whatever, blah, 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 as they kept doing. And Frasier kind of tries to justify it by saying, like, can you imagine watching the opera on this thing? It's going to be amazing. Or the artists of the Bolshoi. And Niall says, yes, you're quite a Bolshoi artist yourself. And I think that's such a funny line.
It is.
And the totally dry delivery, it's great.
It's like, I wonder how many of our highlights have just been the way that David Hyde Pierce delivers a line.
It's just, yeah.
Because it's got to be a good percentage of the episode so far.
Now I'm going to need to go back and re-listen to, like, all of our highlights and just make a note of what all of our highlights are from each one.
So I think if I have to give a highlight to this disc, I would give it to John the cab driver in the 1000th show. I think I really, really like that scene, and it always stands out to me as well. No matter how many times I watch it, it always feels, it just makes you feel good. It just makes you feel like Frasier is a good person, despite what might have happened earlier in the episode or in other seasons, or how obnoxious or creepy he was being. There's moments like that where you're like, nah, he's a good psychiatrist. He's a good person.
Yeah.
And I just like it. I like John as well. He just seems like a nice guy. He's a bit down on his luck.
He does seem like a nice guy.
Yeah. So that's my highlight for disc 1 of season 5.
Yeah. Well, good.
Well, good. We made it through this entire episode without falling asleep.
We have. Oh,
I'm
God,
impressed.
It's been a struggle, man. This weekend has been non-stop for me.
Been busy. You've been a lot busier than I have as well. I had a chance to calm down after the wedding at the weekend. You were right back out again.
Yeah.
So well done. I'm impressed. You can go and rest after this. Yeah. I'll do the editing. It's
Although
fine.
It is always funny. Yesterday I was out with some friends, and at one point I was talking to some people, and then someone called me over. My friend Simon called me over from the other side of this party and goes, Ewan! And I said, what? And he goes, we're talking about Frasier, get over here. And I had to run over because I've reached that point now where I am the Frasier friend.
Yeah.
I get, anytime there's like someone famous tweets something about Frasier, or like makes a joke, or there's kind of a tweet about Frasier going around, I will get 3 or 4 different people sending me that. They will share it with me, and I kind of have to, I don't have the heart to say like, oh yeah, I've seen that before, so I have to do like the whole like, oh, LMAO, so true, to each one individually as if I'm seeing it for the first time, which is, I think, is funny.
I like that. Yeah, being known as the Frasier guy is pretty cool. There are worse things to be known.
There are definitely worse things to be known as. No, I'm quite happy with it.
Right. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Let you get back to bed.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us once again for another season. We hope to keep this going for many more. Hopefully till the end. I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah. We can manage that.
I think we can manage it. We will see you next week for disc 2 of season 5. But for now, have a good day, good mental health, and thank you for listening.
And do the Barracuda.
This has been a Happy Brothers podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HappyBrosPod.
All opinions are our own, and as always, special thanks to Leah O'Donnell for the show's artwork.